Tulgetsky,
Here.
Watson,
Here.
McCain,
Here.
Wertz, Hyan,
Here.
Johnson, that's
Here.
okay, Rust,
Here.
Hanfelder.
Here. This is a time for public comment, limited to 3 minutes per person or a group. If you have a group that's have a representative step forward.
So maybe this is a good time to mention, I was going to make a little announcement here that some good news. Our women's soccer team won today, this afternoon. 5-0 over Metropolitan Community College District of Kansas City. And so they play tomorrow. If they win over St. Louis Community College District, I should say when they win, they go to the Nationals in Juniper, Florida, if they win. So.
Time for public comment. Yes.
I'll go as quickly as I can, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board and Dr. Chapman. My name is Karen Zimmerman. I live at 6633 Foxview Drive in Edwardsville. My phone number is 618-558-1055. That's how they do it at other forums. So a little bit about my background. I was professionally trained in systems management as a commissioned officer in the United States Air Force. I've been at the director level for one of the largest systems integrators in the world at the time before I retired. Just as I'm a professional program project manager, management consultant, and done root cause analysis on programs that are in trouble and needed to be turned around to the IRS, large banking and insurance agencies, and DoD. So anyway, that was a way as an introduction. I'm just going to read what I've got, and I'm going to go as fast as I can, okay? I am recommending the Board of Trustees of Lewis and Clark Community College request a federal investigation into the mishandling of funds, specifically the mishandling of surplus funds associated with Edwardsville TIF 2 and TIF 4 and comprised of 324 parcels of real property. My allegations are based on public data on file at the Madison County Recorder's Office, the Illinois Comptroller's Office, the TIF Act, and information received as a result of Freedom of Information request. I am in no way making these allegations against anyone in the Lewis and Clark Community College community. This scheme, or artifice to defraud, includes unlawful actions by an elected official and actions by appointed officials under the direct control of this elected official. These actions include the following: bypassing statutorily required external controls through noncompliance with state statute, submitting falsified documents electronically to the state comptroller's office, bypassing statutorily required internal controls, using intimidation to thwart efforts to expose the unlawful activities. With respect to TIF 2, note that it's been running a surplus for numerous years. Lewis and Clark has not received one nickel of that. As prescribed by statute, these funds could only be used for approved budgeted activities included in an adjacent TIF, in this case TIF 4, where the Manny Jackson Center for Humanities is located, or distributed back to the overlapping taxing districts. The funds were instead used to give unbudgeted and therefore unapproved payments to select property owners within TIF 2 and to fund activities outside of the approved budgets associated with TIF 4 without statutorily required amendments, joint review boards, and public hearings. Under false pretenses, this is also done, compelled District 7, Lewis Clark Community College, and Madison County officials to sign documentation associated with TIF 2 and then submitting these documents to a state senator to compel him to sponsor enabling the extension of TIF 2. Note that all approved tasks associated with the objectives of eradicating the conditions that qualified the area as eligible for TIF have been completed nearly 10 years ago. The TIF 2 extension was specifically sought for the building of a multi-story parking garage, pay to park, in the area behind City Hall, of benefit only to the adjacent private property owners in the city of Edwardsville. It's time. Can I just read the last part? Is the money? I will. Basically, it comes down to the quantified of how much you all were duped out of, roughly $1.89 million, okay? And I have it all written here, and it's all substantiated with backup. With respect to TIP 4, encompasses the complex known as Manny Jackson Center for Humanities, because there are a lot of things that went on there that, quite frankly, none of you are aware of, that thwarted the efforts to put together programming for this college that would have benefited a lot of low-income people and a lot of minorities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna Eaglehoff, concerned taxpayer. Agenda item AB, approval of agreement with Forensic Accounting and Consulting Service and Company. My inquiry is directed toward the college attorney to help me understand the legalities and to encourage the community to do their own investigating and not make conclusions based on my own statements. Let's first reflect back to April 1st, 2019, to the Annie Fry show that Mr. Hyan was part of. At marker 2 minutes, 8 seconds, let's listen to the first guest, Sheila, and what she had to say.
This is going to be great. And then that's when I met Jeremy, and he's the Republican chairperson. And
For Madison County, yeah.
Right. And I was like, when I saw
In fact, the show guest later heard stating that Jeremy recruited her to run for the board. It's my understanding that Madison County Republican Party helped support the campaign for the new board members. Jeremy happened to also take over the chair January 2017, the same year Mr. Hyan ran and was sworn into Lewis and Clark board. This Jeremy that I referred to in the clip that you just heard has the exact same name, same credentials as the name signed on page 208 of the board book, and is associated with the Forensic Accounting and Consulting Service. He's also based out of Glen Carbon, alumni of SIUE, has contracted with SIUE, and I understand that Mr. Rust is part of SIUE's foundation board. I do play fair, and Mr. Plank did step down from the Madison County Republican chair so he could focus on professional endeavors 2 months ago. I would think that the high profile and the outrage the community has towards this board for not giving Dr. Dale Chapman a contract would prompt them to seek professional investigation outside of the area to get unbiased information. Forgive me if I have trust issues. Your behaviors have not warranted trust from me. I have grave concerns about the validity of information that would come from this company if agreement is accepted tonight. There are just too many correlations for me to not question the moral and ethic agenda behind all of this. And yes, HR, I did complete my legal assignment. So my last question, is Mr. Plank the one who's writing your script?
Dwayne Bailey, retired judge from Madison County, Illinois. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to your audit that you had last month. My understanding is, Mr. Hyman, you asked your special committee of two to conduct an audit to find out about the expenses of the university, or the college rather. My concern was, you've been on the board for 2 years. Why in the world would you need an audit? You should already know the answers to those questions. As to the new board members, it's good for you to educate yourself, but at what cost? I would like for the newspaper to have the exact cost of the audit that you conducted without having to do a Freedom of Information request, so the public will know how you're spending the taxpayers' dollars. I believe, Mr. Russ, today you intend to file a motion to ask that the Gallagher study be included administrative salaries. Now, it seems to me that's a waste of taxpayers' money, which I believe you said was $5,000, because Mr. Hyman asked you as a result of that survey, would salaries be reduced? And your reply was no, that would not be fair to anyone while they're currently employed. Well, you've already campaigned on not increasing administrative salaries. So why are we spending $5,000 when you don't intend to do anything with it? So those are my comments, and esteemed council, I hope you're learning, and I hope you talk to them about the Open Meetings Act.
Anyone else wish to speak? Okay. If not, we are moving on to the omnibus agenda. The following items will be approved in one motion unless any board member wishes to have an item pulled prior to the vote. Does anyone wish to pull any items from that? If not, is there a motion to approve the omnibus agenda?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve it. Is there any discussion? Call for the vote.
Watson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
McCain?
Yes.
Hyan?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passed. Informational items. Awarded grants and sponsored contracts.
I think all the information items, Mr. Chairman Hine, are as appear in your book, and there's no action required on those unless there are comments from the board on a particular item. And then if there are, we'll stop and do that. If not, then the last information item is a staff presentation on marketing and recruitment strategies, which has been a theme that we wanted to kind of comprehensively look at. So with your permission, then I'll ask Lori Artis to.
Are there any questions from the board on any of the other items? If not, okay.
All right. I think you should have some handouts, if not already. Laura's bringing them up to pass around. But the last couple months, we've heard a lot of questions about what are our marketing efforts, what are we doing to recruit students and market our services to our district residents. So instead of trying to answer those each month individually, Kent and I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to kind of share with you what the bigger picture and the strategic planning that goes into our annual advertising, marketing, and recruitment efforts. And although I have the honor of overseeing the media services team in developing our annual marketing strategies, I have to say that marketing and recruitment is truly a campus-wide initiative, as you'll see here tonight. Media services works closely with Kent Shuffle and the enrollment and recruitment staff, but they also engage regularly with the faculty, program coordinators, IT, institutional research, and just about every department and individual on this campus for those efforts. Media Services itself is a small but mighty group of talented, creative thinkers, and they work together to help promote the college. They offer services in the Media Services department, everything from marketing, print production, creative design services, social media management. They manage the website, provide public relations, advertising, photography, and even event production and management. So it's hard to condense everything that we're doing on a marketing and recruitment effort into a brief presentation for you tonight, but we've attempted to do that. And hopefully following this presentation, you'll have kind of what the bigger picture is and understand what our strategies have been and how we're using data to kind of drive those decisions and direct our dollars. So with that, Kent, is there anything you want to add?
Lori is correct. It really is a team effort because it really does involve everyone on campus promoting the college, trying to get students, get the public interested in what's going on in hopes of finding that next student. It really does involve everyone. What you're getting this evening really is just an overview. We normally meet an hour and a half to 2 hours every month to discuss enrollment, the strategies, the recruitment, that kind of thing. Plus we talk quite often throughout the month as well, informally, just to keep everyone up to speed. So there's a lot of time spent on it, a lot of work that goes into it, trying to keep students coming. But with that, I'll introduce Laura Inlow and Ryan Hodge, who've got the details. So, Laura?
All right, I think we're working here. Okay, the first thing I want to do is kind of introduce, as soon as I can get my clicker working here. Oops, went too far. And it's not working. Okay, I want to talk to you guys a little bit before we dive in with some of our key strategies. I want to tell you a little bit about how we come to our goals and how we decide which strategies we are going to engage for the year. So what we put together is a collaborative effort, including the President's Office, Enrollment Services, IT, and the Student Success Team. We use feedback from those groups, along with real data from student surveys, from institutional research, and metrics from previous digital marketing campaigns, website traffic, and social media engagement to identify the college's short and long-term goals and the strategies we will use to tackle those goals over the coming year. The plan is a living document, though, to give us the flexibility to change and adapt strategies when new opportunities arise or when we see that something isn't working the way that we want it to. So this slide gives you a quick look at some of the data that came from our student media survey in 2017. We are currently collecting data for 2019. We collect survey data every 2 years about current students' media consumption as well as how they're finding Lewis and Clark and deciding to enroll with us. Keeping in mind that Lewis and Clark caters to a variety of different demographics, this survey doesn't give us the entire picture, but it does give us some good evidence-based information with which to inform decisions on advertising buys and digital marketing strategies. You guys heard from Kent a couple months ago with details on enrollment and student success data. So there's just a little bit up on the screen here for you to demonstrate that we use some of that data to inform our decisions as well. It gives us an idea of the demographics that we are reaching effectively and the ones that we could be targeting more effectively. As Kent mentioned, I sit on the enrollment services team, as does one of my media specialists, and I also serve on the student success team, so that we can remain aware of trends in those areas and make sure that advertising, marketing, and PR can have a positive impact on those efforts. These are not all of our marketing goals, but these are top 5 in relation to enrollment services. So a few of our high-level goals: 1, to increase student enrollment; 2, to increase student retention and completion; 3, to improve our digital, social, and targeted advertising efforts; 4, to expand hyper-local content marketing; and 5, to grow brand awareness and engagement. This is another slide I'm not going to read for you all, but you have it in front of you. Each of these efforts that you see here works toward meeting one or more of the goals that you saw on the previous slide. It would take longer, as Lori mentioned, than I have tonight to go over everything that the department does. So I'm going to pull out some trends and highlight some of the more effective strategies that we're employing currently on the next few slides. So as funding has decreased over the last several years, we've gotten more strategic with our spending. That basically means we've moved our efforts from traditional platforms like radio, TV, and print to digital strategies for multiple reasons. They allow us to be hyper-local with really strategic, specific targeting. They're usually typically a lot more affordable than traditional advertising, and also we get metrics that you just can't get with traditional advertising, so we can actually tell whether those campaigns are working or whether we need to try something else. As you can see from this pie chart here, it kind of breaks up how our advertising and promotions budget is split up. You can see it's still pretty diversified and evenly divided between more traditional campaigns and more digital campaigns. Each year we work toward kind of moving that transformation a little bit more toward the digital era. This thing is not working. Right. One of our key strategies that I wanted to point out tonight is our social media content and advertising. Social media is a key component of what we do because they're typically simple to create and quick to disseminate, and they reach students and potential students and parents and other influencers where they spend a lot of their time already. Marketing on these platforms is extremely cost efficient. The majority of the content we create currently is on Facebook and Instagram, although we are on Twitter and Snapchat as well. When our content receives likes or engagements like shares or comments, any of those interactions cause the algorithms on those sites to start serving our content to people who are connected with those people. So even if they don't follow Lewis and Clark, as their friends and family engage with our content, we're starting to reach a larger organic audience. Currently, we have about 11,000 followers on Facebook, 1,100 on Instagram, and 2,400 on Twitter. Snapchat is a little bit less easy to define. And regular content sharing, of course, costs nothing more than the time it takes to create these things.
Question?
Do you have one person that monitors all that, or how does that work?
We have a specialist who specializes in social media, but we all have access. I have 3 professional staff and myself, and then another manager in the department who all have access. But I'd say it's mostly myself and our social media expert that handle that. So when we want to guarantee a larger audience beyond what we can do for free, we can boost a post or create ad sets, and those are really affordable, as little as $5 a day, to reach thousands of targeted potential students or influencers. You can get really specific with social media targeting. You can target users by age, location, education level, employment status, economic status, and even interests that they list on their profile and or online behaviors. Social media ads also have what's called site network retargeting, which means that you may see one of our ads on Facebook and then be reading a news story on a different website and see one of our ads embedded in that site. So it kind of follows you, so you get that recognition across the web. Just a couple examples. Each year we boost our Discover Day Facebook event to get it in front of as many people as possible. This past October, we spent just $100 over the course of 10 days, and we got that event in front of 5,258 people. We also did a summer enrollment campaign. That ad set cost $150. We reached 12,047 people, and we can show that 111 of them clicked through those ads directly to our admissions website. Another recent campaign we did focused on programs identified in the MC Skills Gap analysis, targeting users in our district who list interests that align with those career options. One site that we'd like to do more with, though, is Snapchat. We can show that our users are on that site more than any other, but research shows us that they like to engage with their friends and their families and not necessarily brands. So we're trying to get a little bit more creative with that. We've experimented with student-generated content to increase that organic reach. Last commencement, we handed over our account to Vanessa Perkinson, who is an Honors College graduate who actually worked in the Enrollment Center when she was here on campus, and we let her snap as Lewis and Clark throughout the night to give other fellow students and potential students kind of the inside look of a student's experience here at the college. So we'd like to do a little bit more with that in the future and possibly involve our new recruiter in those efforts as well. Okay. So the next campaign I'd like to talk a little bit about is a geofencing campaign. Geofencing campaigns use location services on a person's cell phone to target them for advertising. So we work with a third-party company called Claris Corporation. They specialize in higher ed. We give them the goals and the ideas for strategies, which they then optimize, execute, and then give us back our data and let us know how the campaign went. A good campaign runs about $2,500, and there are multiple ways that this can work. So the company can draw a virtual perimeter around a physical location, kind of the way that you see in the illustration up there. And When people enter those geographic locations during the time that they're being geofenced, the company collects the IP addresses on their cell phones and then can target them at a later date with our advertising. I know it sounds kind of big brothery. It's a peek behind the curtain. So that's only one way that it can work. Another way that it can work is that we can target certain zip codes within our district, or if we have student addresses inside our system, we can target specific addresses of students who've maybe started here but not completed, and we haven't seen them for a few years, and just kind of send them some ads to remind them that it might be a good time to come back and finish those degrees. So geofencing campaigns can target users on multiple platforms. So just like social media, you not only see them on your cell phone when you're visiting websites or playing on an app that is ad supported, but you might also start seeing those on the computer when you're surfing the web. They're very cost effective and also offer detailed metrics so we can tell how they're doing. This one kind of takes it a step further than social media because Claris can actually tell us when we don't know who they are specifically, so there's no identifying characteristics, but they can tell us how many people were served our ads and then set foot on our campus afterward. So, right? So one recent summer-fall campaign that we did targeted specific addresses in our system, as well as a geofence and visitors to our website. That resulted in 316,668 ad impressions, 358 clicks to the website, and 672 physical campus visits. That total cost, and it's slightly less because our department supplies our own creative, was just over $2,400. So kind of a lot of bang for your buck there. Okay, the next strategy I want to talk to you about is Discover Magazine. It's another major effort of ours. We publish 3 times a year, and it is bulk mailed to every address in the district as strategic major enrollment periods in the fall, spring, and summer to keep us top of mind and remind people that it's time to enroll. The magazine evolved from the old costly class schedule you may have heard of. People used to get that in the mail 3 times a year. It was problematic not only because of cost, it had a lot more pages, but also once those class schedules were published, they were almost immediately out of date just because schedules change and classes fill up. So a lot of the information was already out of date when it came into mailboxes. So this new slick iteration is a 16-page glossy marketing mailer. It's not only more attractive, informative, and engaging, but it's also quite a bit less costly. We did the math, and it comes out to about 22 cents per copy. We also use the back of the magazine that you can see here to highlight major enrollment dates. So if they don't see anything other than the front cover and the back, they're still getting that brand recognition and the important dates that we want them to have, although we hope that the cover is engaging enough to help draw them inside to read all the good news that we have to share. So we also circulate a digital version sometimes before the physical version hits mailboxes. So Discover Spring 2020 will arrive in your mailboxes soon, but the digital version is already making its way around Facebook and has already gotten 250 reads over the past week. I also should mention that Discover is an award-winning magazine that has been recognized several times over the past several years by the National Council for Marketing and Public Relations. Excuse me. Yep. I have it written here. It's 115,000. Oop, I was on it already. Okay. And the last one that I want to draw your attention to is our website. So our website is our virtual footprint. We try to keep it as beautiful as our physical campus. We utilize it as a major marketing tool, but also a tool for generating enrollment leads that can then be passed on to the enrollment center and our recruiter to turn into enrollments. So this award-winning site, also recognized by NCMPR, is about 4 years old in its current iteration, but it's still attractive and mobile-friendly. We use high-impact imagery and multimedia to engage our users, and we can see that that's working. Google Analytics tells us that users typically spend about 2.5 minutes on the site, which is the national average for higher education websites. But one interesting tidbit that I did want to share with you, in the last year alone, we've had more than 330,000 unique individuals visit our website and view nearly 2 million pages. The website has seen as many as 23,852 visits in a single week, and I believe that was the first week of this last fall semester. All of our digital marketing strategies, as well as the print efforts, eventually lead people back to the website. We have paid search functions and search engine optimization also that drive people to the site. And another thing that we use is YouTube TrueView. So those are video pre-roll ads that aim to send people to the website. And we know that a lot of our users are spending a lot of time watching videos on YouTube. The cool thing about that is it's called TrueView because we only pay for an impression if a user watches 80% or more of the ad. So we've strategically placed our logo in the bottom corner so that we're still getting that ad recognition even if a user only watches 79%, and we're not going to pay for those users. So Okay, so especially with technology and social media, it's so important to stay on the forefront to continue to offer students and potential students the very best experience at Lewis and Clark. So if we could ask for one thing moving forward, it would just be the flexibility to try new strategies as they arise and support for our technology needs because enrollment and marketing are ever more reliant on our technology. One good example of how that we've received this support in recent past is the implementation of Ellucian Recruit. Until this past month, we were collecting leads through an online form, which was pretty successful. From January to October 2019, we received 1,114 inquiries for more information about our programs. The problem with that is we weren't able to track users beyond that initial inquiry, so it was a lot for the enrollment center to handle. So our new Ellucian Recruit software recently replaced that system, and I'm going to bring up Assistant Director of Admissions, Records, and Recruitment, Ryan Hodge, to tell us a little bit more about that and some of their other strategies.
I just want to make a comment about the social media. The Discover magazine, I think, has had, from my experience, a really large impact. People that I don't know will come up to me and say, "Oh, I saw you in the magazine." So I think it's really had an impact on the community. And then the Instagram, I think, is a great idea. I watched the graduation kind of evolve, and Vanessa she's great. So I think doing that connects different groups of people, and so many people are engaging in that way. So I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Yeah, we know that we're trying to reach a really diverse audience, a lot of different diverse audiences. So we try to keep our marketing plan diversified in the same way so we can reach those people.
All right, good evening. So just to reiterate what Laura was saying is the way we got here is we had all these inquiries, like she said, 1,000, and we were doing such a great job of reaching out to them at first, but we had no way to follow up with all 1,000. We had no way to track all these 1,000 students that were reaching out to us. We didn't know what these students' interests were. We didn't know what their intents were. We really didn't have much information to go on. So just recently we went live with our Ellucian Recruit product. This product is to help us find, it's going to help us engage, and hopefully help us register the students in our area. We hope that it will increase enrollment through personalized communications with these students, and we are able to collect these student interests. So what do they want to do here at Lewis Clark, or what do they want to do going forward after high school? Or what do they want to do to continue their job opportunities? And we can track them now. So in admissions, we focus on what we call an admissions funnel. So they start at the top. They're considered a prospect lead, which we really don't have any information about. And then they go into the inquiry stage. So they've reached out to us but haven't done much more than that. After that, they usually become an application where they just kind of submit an application to get their feet wet. And then after that, it's an application accepted, all right, where they've kind of turned in some things, get the ball rolling. And then we go into an accepted mode where they've accepted our offer to be a part of our college. Doesn't mean they're enrolled yet. It just means they accepted. And then the last part of this funnel is to get enrolled. So we go by this admissions funnel as best we can, but like we said, we couldn't track them. Basically, our application was very vanilla, and it got the students admitted to our college, but that was it. We didn't have any follow-up with these students. So we had students admitting applications daily and weekly, and we would send out our congratulations, you've been admitted, but where's the follow-up there? Where can we break down these barriers to help them get here and get them enrolled? And this is what this software is going to help us do. So how do we do it within the software? Well, we built out an admissions funnel of our own in the software. So where they're at, where we dump prospects information. So that's all the information we're getting from students, like their cell phone numbers, their email addresses, their graduation year, their high school, where they attended high school. So we're gathering that information. And then we're able to track them. Did they put in an application? Did they finish their application? Did they turn in their high school transcripts, their college transcripts, their orientation? Did they complete that? So we can reach out to them at every step along the way to guide them to be enrolled here at Lewis and Clark. And this is a big step for us. We've never been able to do that. We will do this through what we call communication plans, workflows in the system. We do short campaigns. So if we are coming down to January, 2 weeks before the start of class, we can send out a campaign and reach out to all the prospects in our system that maybe have filled out an application, but they haven't enrolled for some reason. And we want to know why that reason or what that reason is and how can we help. So we can personalize our communication with these students and interact with them and figure out ways to get them on our campus and get them enrolled. With this system, we're able to pull reports, which we've never been able to do. So we can see how we're doing in each high school right off the bat. So right now, Alton has 20 applications in. So we can see we're doing pretty good in Alton. And then maybe we look over to Edwardsville, and we have only 5 applications in right now. Okay, let's get out to Edwardsville. Let's speak to those students and figure out how we can generate more applications, more interest in Lewis and Clark. I think the biggest thing is now we know who our non-traditional students are. Our adult students, we don't know where they're coming from, where they're at. Now they're reaching out to us. We have their information, and we can reach back. We can figure out what they need from us to be successful, what they need from us to be able to enroll at Lewis and Clark. The capabilities here are really endless. We hope to build our prospect pool as quickly as we can to start reaching out to these students. This software has a capability to use texting. So right now everything is through emails or phone calls. We don't have the capability of texting just yet, but this software does allow us to text. It is an extra cost, but that's something we could look and revisit within a year to see if those things that we need, because we know that students are always on their phone, they're always texting. So that's something we want to look into to see if that will, if we can bring in X amount of students to offset that texting cost. Our early data, we've only been alive for 1 week, and we have had 30 people inquire about something at Lewis and Clark, which is, in a week, that's great. We have 70 students that have filled out an application and been admitted to the college, which when we first opened, they asked me, are you guys going to be busy with applications? No, this is kind of a slow time here for applications. Right off the bat, the first week we have 70, which we knew nothing about. So those 70s, we're already reaching out, putting them in a communication plan and being able to contact them for the next 2 months with certain emails, how to pay for college.
Yeah, in that communication plan, when do they talk to a real person, and do you have enough people to talk to everyone, or is it all?
So it is all automated, but each email is very specific. So it would be somewhere, if it's how to pay for a college, we give them instructions, and then at the bottom we have all the information to the financial aid office. If it is how to apply to college, all the bottom of the information is please contact us at the enrollment center. Now, if they have questions about something specific, that will be answered by myself, Alice Bungeon, or our new full-time recruiter, because we can send personalized emails through this software. And then I think what was most surprising to us this first week is we had, out of the 120 people that have inquired in the first week, 90 of them were non-traditional students. That means 90 of them were 22 or older, all right, which if you look at our enrollment in the past, we're down in the adults. So this is a opportunity for us to reach out to these adults and, like I said, find out exactly what they need.
Kevin, you had a question?
Yeah.
Are there other modules with the Lucian Recruit, or is this do we use other pieces of Lucian, or is it
so
strictly for
Lucian
recruiting?
is our main ERP that we use for all of our enrollment, and then the Recruit is just a byproduct of our ERP. They also have one for advising and retention, and then they also have one for donations and alumni giving. All right, so, how are we reaching out to these prospects? How are we getting these students in our software with their information? Well, we do numerous things. We have a recruitment team and program coordinators that go out and visit to our local high schools. In the spring, every Friday for the first 3 months, we pick a school and we go to that school and we talk to seniors, we talk to juniors. Each program coordinator kind of gives a breakdown of their specific program, and then we have an admissions counselor go with them to talk about how to get into Lewis and Clark. We invite students to our Discover Day, which we offer 2 times a year. Those are basically, it's an open house. We invite students from all local high schools, sophomores up to seniors, and we have all different types of tables for them to visit. We interact with them with our students on campus. So there's kind of fun activities going on, but good information given. We give out tours to our prospects, and we get them meeting with people on campus for some peer-to-peer interaction, but we also give them good information as parents are there with them. Just the last Discover Day, we had 100-plus students come through, plus parents, plus siblings, things like that. We had about over 200 prospects, is what we call our opportunities, on our campus that was able to see not only the campus, but what we have to offer, which we thought was a pretty good success. We also have very strong relationships with our high school counselors.
One question.
Yeah,
I just
sorry.
have a question. I know Staunton High School was here recently. I don't know if it was last Friday or the Friday before. Myself and president of the student government went and spoke with them. Do you know from that group how many of them, because I know they showed interest, because we asked if, they had Lewis and Clark in mind, and there was I wouldn't say a large majority, but some of, quite a few raised their hand. Did you have any interaction from that visit, or do you have any numbers on that?
So we don't have any numbers exactly on that, but now we are going to be able to track that. So we do what we call campus visits, where we invite classes on our campus and we provide a whole day for them. So what we have them do is fill out kind of like a contact card, and then that contact information has their address, has their phone number, has their email address, high school graduation date. And then what we'll do is we'll put them in Recruit, and then we will be able to track them. We'll also give them a personalized email saying, hey, thanks for visiting campus. Let us know if we have any other things we can do for you. So, yes, we'll be able to track them now. We have not been able to in the past. We know how many people are on our campus and come, but we don't know how many enroll through that program.
So where does the new recruiter fit in this process? I know you mentioned it, but
So,
sounds
yes.
like you got it covered already without a recruiter.
So she will be kind of all over. She'll be hitting a little bit of the strategies within the high schools, talk a little bit about the adults, and then she will be working with me on the software. So she's going to be the person who's going to get out into the community, talk to as many people as they can, not only in high schools, but corporate events, community events, and things like that. So she is going to be a big plus for me and a real enjoyment to have on this recruitment team to bring more leads and prospects to the table. We also have what we call Early Start, Concurrent Enrollment. Those are programs that just basically get students on our campus, get them a taste of college before they actually graduate from high school, and they can take courses with our students here on campus. They're not able to take a full schedule, but they're able to take maybe 1 or 2 classes, maybe in the morning or in the afternoon, all right, with our college students, but still going to high school and haven't graduated yet. We also have our early bird registration, where in the last 5 years we went from about accommodating 250 seniors, where now we are up to about 450, 460 students. And those are seniors coming on our campus, and we register them early before anybody else gets a chance to. So it's a great program for our high school seniors to see the campus, get them on, and that's a picture of actually them visiting that one day. I don't know what school that is, but it's a great program where we have about 450 students that come in within 2 months that we actually enroll and get them through orientation. We also do FAFSA completion nights, where we go out, our financial aid office goes out and talks to students, helps them complete their FAFSAs. That happens on high school grounds, and then also happens here that they're invited out to. Now, like I said, adult students we've struggled with in the past, so this is a very topic that we are really concentrating on. So a couple things that are, that have been happening over the last year. We have implemented a website where they can go to, which we call College for Busy Adults. This is just a website to talk about barriers that maybe adults might have. For example, working from 8 to 5. So what do we have that can accommodate those students? Well, we look at online classes all the time. Can we get degrees where they can finish all online, which we do have some of those. Night classes, can they fit in 2 night classes a night and get a lot of their work done within one night instead of coming, 5 days a week? So we look at those, we study those. We have an adult academic advisor that our adult students can reach out to if they have any questions, so they have a friendly face to go to. I think one of our big things is, getting out to more community events, maybe county fairs, and our, getting into corporations that have tuition reimbursement and how to get them on here and talk about things that will help them, move up in their company. So a couple things that the full-time recruiter will help us with as we move forward. The minority students, in the previous slide, we talked about we had an increase in minority students. The recruitment strategies are pretty similar, but we have events that, are going towards minority students. So just Tuesday, I spoke to 25 minority students in Alton High School. I brought along our Director of Financial Aid. I brought along our Inclusion and Diversity Coordinator, and then also our High School Partnership Director. And we talked about how to get into Lewis and Clark and what are the benefits of coming to Lewis and Clark. So we spent about an hour and a half with those 25 students, and we do that throughout as many high schools that will let us. And then we're hoping to get into more events. We do the Juneteenth event. We do the Alton Back to School event, which we participate in, that has been really successful for us.
Are you able to make any special efforts, or maybe it doesn't even make sense to, but special efforts at the charter school in East St. Louis?
So that is kind of new to us. So Dobby and Levisi, we've been working with to get out there. So just recently, I went to the East St. Louis High School, and they have a mascot day where we bring in our mascot. I sit and talk to a couple classrooms and talk about our new campus over in the East St. Louis. So we haven't been out there much, but it's definitely on the table to get out there more. So like Kent said, our enrollment team, we are put together all across campus from departments all over. We meet once a month to find out ways of how to improve recruitment and marketing strategies. And, we really believe that with investing in advertising and this recruitment software and a full-time recruiter, we'll be able to reach more prospective students, and hopefully those will, turn into enrollments.
Two things. Can you comment at all on how you utilize the Lewis and Clark alumni in recruiting, or can you?
I would say that's probably more. Do we do ads, spotlights? Yeah.
Yeah, so we work with a number of alumni who have had positive experiences here, and we'll do video testimonials or write a news story about their experiences, send out to our media outlets. Anytime people can read a success story, sometimes they can see themselves in those people, and that's what we hope to get from our alumni connections.
And then the other thing I was wondering is, could you comment on how you have maybe utilized our great athletic program here at Lewis and Clark for recruiting purposes?
Oh man, I could talk for days on that. I'm also the soccer coach here for the men's team and the assistant coach for the women's team. So really, the athletics program has really brought in a very diverse group to our school. Just from the soccer team, we not only have students from this area that are very prideful of their sport, but we also are bringing students in from St. Louis, Chicago, Kansas City, and overseas internationally. We have around 30 students, international students on our campus, and 98% of them are doing some kind of sport amongst Lewis and Clark. And that's really how I got into recruitment. You know, I've been recruiting for soccer for 10 years now as an assistant coach. And really, I bring those same strategies of how I bring a player over here the same way I try to bring over a student that just wants to come here for academics. You know, we talk about our tuition costs. We talk about our small class sizes. We talk about our school pride. We talk about our relationships with our instructors and faculty. So our sports have, I think, brought just so much more diversity to this campus and so much more pride. And with getting our brand new mascot, if you would have been over at the SWIC Lewis and Clark game and that rivalry on the women's national or the region championship, the stands were packed and there were students there and excited about the campus. And you know, we use that as a recruitment tool. You know, the Telegraph does a great job of promoting all of our sports.
Could you mention faculty involvement? You know, we have a lot of faculty involvement in recruiting and going out to school.
Yeah, so in the spring, the program coordinators and we kind of put together a tour of Lewis and Clark. And what happens is every Friday for the first 3 to 4 months, we pick a different school and we go to those classrooms and talk to those students. We might go to a welding classroom. We might go to a child development classroom. We might go to a criminal justice classroom. And those program coordinators, it's their time to really talk about what their program can do for them. And then what I do is more on the admission side and talk about how we get into Lewis and Clark.
Also bring all the counselors in, superintendents in regularly?
Yeah, we bring regularly, once a year we bring in our high school counselors and we take a tour around campus and we tell them kind of what's new and what's going on, and they get in front of our program coordinators. And then we also send a monthly newsletter, which we just started, to our high school counselors saying, hey, this is what's going on at our school right now. This is where we're going to be at this week. We're going to be out in Edwardsville hosting an early grad visit. We're going to be in Gillespie for application day. So this newsletter gets out the information. Maybe there's something going on in welding that we want to tell their students about. So instead of just hammering their emails with all this information, we came up with the Counselor's Corner newsletter that we send out to them monthly with a lot of information.
So how much do you think enrollment's going to go up next
Oh, man. If my boss wasn't here, I mean, yeah. I will say with this, we're hoping, obviously we hope for enrollment increase, but I guarantee we will have more prospects that we can interact with, which we've never done before, which, you know, studies say the more you're interacting with these prospects, the more they're going to turn into enrollments.
You may have said this, but I'm assuming you analyze why people don't come here too, right? Can you tell that from your communications? Like when people, you know, stop and say, yeah, I'm not coming there. And then sometimes they probably don't answer you.
No, they're usually pretty honest.
You don't have to tell me, but are you analyzing that?
Our adult, we usually get feedback a lot more from our adult students. So why aren't they coming here? And it's usually we're not communicating enough to them what they need to do.
Can I add a study real
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just probably the same thing that Lori was getting ready to say is we're looking at the possibility of a focus group in the high schools for specifically students that don't choose to come here after high school, just to see kind of what their reasons are, so we can get a better idea.
And then you two might not know this, but do we know what our total marketing budget is?
Our marketing and promotions line item is $160,000. We do support that a little bit with two other line items. Postage helps support our Discover magazine, and that was included in the 22 cents per issue that I noted earlier. And then at the end of the year, if we need to refill our promotional item stash so that Ryan and his folks have stuff to take out to the high schools and leave with students, we will use another one of our office supply items to supplement our promotions budget. So I would say it's probably between 160 to 175 total.
That's excluding salaries,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Directly on advertising. Individual departments, some of them will have dollars set aside in their budgets for very specific purposes.
And then is this Aleutian piece, is that out of the tech funds then? Or?
Yes, it is.
Do you know how much it is? Or?
I believe yearly it is 60,000. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Next, construction project status report.
Lori?
Well, I will be very brief. Not a lot of updates beyond what is on page 156 in your board book. I'll just add, we did walk through Riverbend Arena yesterday with the contractors, and if you haven't been through there, the first floor is open, and you're welcome to go and explore. And if you can get past the contractors, you can explore the second floor as well. But mainly just finishing going on the second floor. They were installing all the carpet and the office spaces on the first floor, so the trainer's room is done. So we are about to completely move in and start moving some of our folks back who've been displaced during the renovation. We are definitely on goal to have everyone moved in by January, and of course the furniture was, the bid was approved tonight, so we will be getting all of that ordered and hopefully in place so we can get everyone moved in.
Any idea where we're going to come out, like on budget, under budget, or?
So, I mean,
it might be too early to tell.
No, I mean, obviously we're good. We're through what I call the change order stage, where there's things that just can't be discovered until we get into walls and ceilings. The furniture budget was about $45,000 under what we budgeted, so that was good news. We still have a few things like trainer tables to replace, but otherwise we're in really good shape there. And everything is under budget and on budget so far.
So we had a few light poles delivered.
So, I was hoping you wouldn't ask. I feel like a broken record up here, but we are still waiting on light fixtures. I've been told that the ones in the middle of campus were arriving this week, and hopefully the weather will be cooperative so we can get those in. The parking lot fixtures we're still waiting on, and apparently we need to order 2 years in advance. So.
Thank you. Under T now, source of funds for matching grant requirements.
So I think there was a request from the board to, kind of walk through, what is a match when we talk about grants and contracts, and there's a required match on a particular contract. So we put the examples in the board for you to kind of take a look at there. And so typically a match would be a percentage of a person's effort. I saw Dick Warner here tonight. I didn't realize Dick was going to be here, but Dick, actually one of your grants is in here. You want to just comment on source of funding and where we get how we apply matching funds. And Nancy's here from accounting, and she's oversees this area.
Good evening. It's always great to be at one of these board meetings. I'll give you, and try and do this briefly, a couple of examples that were in grants that I'm related to, and one of them is really quite unusual. It's the one that talks about, it has like a $307,000 match. If you can find that, it's a 2-year grant. I'm talking about that one because it's so unusual and it illustrates that what we call match can be highly variable. In that particular grant, we were about to lose 2 people in our land conservation program because of the slowness of the Farm Bill funding coming our way. We went and competed for this state grant, and it doesn't require match. But to get the highest score possible, they don't call it match, they call it leveraged activities. And so in the grant, it was called leveraged activities. And what it represents is in year 1, so each year is about $150,000. So using the example of year 1, about exactly half of that is actually another grant we're getting from the Department of Natural Resources related to the Farm Bill. So we're able to show that. We have one of the NGOs in the area contributing $5,000 a year plus effort. We have the DNR is writing a check of about $35,000 each year, and there's some matching by DNR biologists in there. So if you boil all that down, there's a little less than $20,000 of effort by NGREC scientists that are already doing these things in the field related to the land conservation program. That's part of that $307,000. And we were careful to show some value in the restoration ecology program. Both the faculty person and the students, they're not doing anything differently, but they're getting training as part of that. And the fact that we have a real education program in this caused us to score very high in that, and we're excited about that. By the way, the 2 people whose jobs were retained in that both graduated from Lewis and Clark in the Restoration Ecology program, and there are a number of other students involved in that right now. I wanted to illustrate because it's just one kind of match that's very strange. Another one that would maybe be more traditional is the one that is for technical assistance in there for living with wildlife, where it is a part of my time and a part of Justin Shu's time that we're doing anyway. It's right within the tranche of our activity, and so there's no cash involved in this. It's showing part of our time and our effort. So those are just a couple of illustrations if you've got questions or comments.
Well, I was the one that asked for this because I just wanted to understand how, matching without money, how that works. And I just wanted to know that, we don't have people who are working 800 hours a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I wondered if there was somebody in the college who, looks at that to see that one person's time is not allocated to too many places.
Oh, would you like to? I work with this young lady
first of all,
several times a week on this kind of thing.
I know that each grant might be audited at some point in its life, but I just wondered if somebody comes in and looks down from above and says, "Well, gosh, this person is working 800 hours a week."
No, for the grants that I monitor and have to submit, I actually have to submit timesheets, and the timesheet, and Dick and Justin that complete and John Crawford completes, is 100% of their time. So they have different line items for each of the grants that they're charged into, and then some grants the work doesn't apply to, so we have to make sure that we're not using those types of funds. So I do go in and look at those very closely. And as Dick can tell you, I will say, this timesheet's not going to work because you put the hours on the wrong days because those aren't the days that you worked. So they'll have to resubmit. And then those timesheets have to be approved by their supervisors. And I have to do all the calculations, and all of this goes in with my reports. They see all the documentation right up front.
And that's audited by third-party auditors.
If they decide to come down and audit at us, yes. Yeah. It's all sitting there for them.
Department of Labor, people like that.
But at this point in time, they have all the information right there in front of them because I have to send it to them. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So Nancy,
would you say like you're the director of grants here for the college? Or? I am.
All
sort
grants
of that, yes.
all grant information flows through you, right?
Well, most of it does. Adult ed doesn't quite flow through me. We have another accountant at the college that almost all of those grants go through her. But pretty much all the rest of them come through me. Yes.
Some specialization. There are still restrictions like she has to look for, like you can't match a federal grant with a federal grant, things like that.
Yeah, you have to be careful where those funds are coming from.
You know, if I can add one other thing to that, Nancy, when I think of a grant and whether we're successful, it's what we said we're going to do and whether we're effective and cost effective in that. But these granting agencies, that's half of it. The other half of it is how well are those kinds of things done and auditable and on time and everything else. And I'm really proud of how well this office does and those kinds of things, and it really does help us compete. One other thing, I've already said too much, I think it would be, I know Gary Rolfe sometime would, in talking about NGREC, would love to sit back and talk a little bit more about when is matching a strategic and right thing to do. Matching, not talking about cash match, this is strictly, our time. How do we think about that? When is it a strategic and it might pay off down the road? And when are those grants where we don't do that? Because that happens as well.
So it's like an opportunity cost of going in one direction versus
right. So
another.
What I see, I'm not tracking the board, reports and stuff very carefully at all, but I don't think it reflects a big picture that is there in terms of trying to be strategic. So that's all. Any other questions for me?
I think what you said is we handle that a lot better than U of I does. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I don't think that's an overstatement.
So then this would be an example of a cost where whatever department your salary goes to, that costs from the grant would go to cover your time?
Yes.
So you'd be an indirect cost that hopefully would be covered out of grant funds?
The grant actually has the direct cost, and this would be a supplement to that, and that's considered part of the match. And they have to be doing work that relates to those grants. And the match has to be earned most of the time within the time frame of the grant. So you can't have purchased something a month before the grant starts and use that as match. It usually has to be within those time frames.
Right. I get that part. I'm wondering, like, with your time, you guys have talked a lot about
that's considered under indirect.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, building, heat, light, and power. People that are working on grants. Those would all be.
And some grants you can use occupancy and the security costs. Val has some of those grants that for Scott Bibb, the activities take place at Scott Bibb, so she is able to utilize those.
How much of your time do you think you spend on grant work?
A lot, yeah, at least.
And then you have another employee who does the same?
Oh, they kind of run through me, and then I distribute them to other accountants. Mm-hmm. But we have one accountant that does almost all of the adult ed, and the other ones, usually all the accountants have some grants. Mm-hmm. And I'd say most of them have at least 2 to 3. Mm-hmm. And they come and go because grants end. So if I find out somebody's grant has ended and we get a new one, it's like, oh, well, your grant ended. So you get the privilege of having another grant. So.
And I appreciate you taking the time to inform me on this.
Okay, not a problem. Any other questions?
Yeah. Could you make an estimate, or is it possible to make an estimate of how many positions, how many people are here at Lewis and Clark that are there totally supported by grants? I mean, basically everybody at NGRAC, I would say, right?
Right. I have no idea.
We can make that calculation. I mean, that's known. We just have to calculate all that.
There's quite a few. There's a lot. There's a lot of people on grants.
A lot of people have, a part of their assignment is on a grant, and like a percentage of effort kind of thing.
Isn't like, would I be thinking grants are like about 8 or 9 million a year? Does that sound about right?
They had been, yes.
Yeah. 8 or 9 million. Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Next item is presentation by Spear Financial Incorporated.
Passing out just a very brief handout, but I'd like to first start with just sort of an overview. First of all, if I get into any jargon, just raise your hand and object, please. We're a financial advisor. The front page calls us a municipal advisor because that's what you have to call yourselves these days, but we work with governments throughout the state and some other states on primarily on issuing bonds and on planning for issuing bonds. So we're located out of Chicago and Waterloo, Iowa. If you go to the next page, page 2, again, my name is Kevin McCanna. I'm the chairman. There's 2 others listed. We work on a team approach because you always need to have somebody who's available, and everybody has a little different experience. We all have experience with community colleges. We all have experience with a lot of other entities. Overall, SPEAR does approximately 200 bond issues a year. We do more than a quarter of all of the bond issues in the state of Illinois. We're the most active municipal advisor. We solely work for governments. We're an independent company. We are employee-owned. We don't have any affiliations with banks or anything. And when you talk about jargon, we're an independent financial advisor. Later on, you have some action items with Stifel Nicholas. They're an underwriter. All bond issues need underwriters. They're a fine underwriter. This is not a conflict situation. This is a situation where we go in and we work with our clients on a sale like you're proposing to get a better rate, to get better terms. Because a lot of what goes on in bond issues is fairly complex, and it's about information, and it's about expertise. And as I said, we do 200 bond issues a year. We've been doing that for quite a long time. I've been doing this for quite a long time. We think that expertise can help get a better interest rate. And it's really human nature if you think about it. If you're selling something or you're pricing something without any oversight, you tend to be a little lax. Many years ago, some Tennessee professors did a study, and they said basically, when you get a sharper pencil when there's someone looking over your shoulder. So with that, I'd like to just go through the presentation, and we'll hit some of the other points. Page 3, again, it has information about the number of bond issues we work on. At the bottom, you can see some of our clients: College of DuPage, Harper Community College, Elgin Community College, Lincoln Land Community College. Drove by there on the way here. Joliet Junior College, Rochester Schools, and a number of municipalities in the southern part of the state, as well as the city of Collinsville. I've worked with them for quite some time. We worked with Springfield over the last 5 years or so. We did a little issue for Salem recently, and we also do a lot of parks. We do a lot of parks throughout the state. We do a lot of schools throughout the state, and so it's a very diverse practice. Page 4 talks about level of services. I'd like to just highlight some of them. The first point is about planning and financial consultation. So when you go into a bond issue, and I think even the Stifel material talks about, do you want to keep your tax rate? I think it was 26 cents or something like that. That's what a lot of you want to do. Or you're talking about issuing additional money, so you want to feather that in with your existing debt service, make sure that everything works. Sure. Okay. You want to make sure that everything works well for your planning. And plans don't always work out. We some years ago, the city of Peoria Schools had a wonderful plan. We helped them execute it, and somehow 2008 came along and all the property values went down. And so all of the 26-cent equivalent tax rate planning that was going to occur didn't. So as we've been refinancing those bonds, because those bonds are now 10 years old, we're moving the debt service around a little bit to try to achieve a little different tax rate because things just didn't work out as planned, and that happens. So that's one of the main things, because you can have the best bond issue in the world, if it's lowest interest rate, whatever, but if it doesn't achieve your planning goals, it's not a successful bond issue. Some of the other points, we talk about timetables and the bond rating, and we'll get into bond rating a little bit later, but we would help you with your bond rating the presentation. Towards the bottom, it talks about different kinds of sales. Now, you're traditionally do a negotiated sale, and I think certainly you would do it, and given the current marketplace with your bond rating of A-, you want to do a negotiated sale. Competitive sales work very well if you're a AA community or college or whatever, or better. You could do a competitive sale for an A-rated municipality or school or college or whatever in other markets, but when 2008 hit and the whole financial market went crazy, lower-rated credits had a really hard time, and it really hasn't come back. The bond insurance helps a little bit, but it still hasn't come back yet. But over time, you probably are going to be doing negotiated sales for a while, given the lower rating that you have. I think, and also in the rating process, our job is not only to get you the right planning, to get you the right interest rate, make sure that it is truly a market interest rate. Not an easy interest rate, but the true market interest rate, and also the terms. Because one of the items that happens in many sales is the call date or the early redemption date. The date when you can refinance is very important. It used to be traditionally 10 years. We tried to do 7 and 8 years. The rules were changed a little bit, so there's now a lot of talk about trying to get down to 5 years. Well, there's a lot of pushback when you try to get to 5 years. But that's some of the things that you want to try to do there. And I think finally the last point is that our role is always in a fiduciary capacity. Federal rules provide that a municipal advisor is a fiduciary. Unlike an underwriter who is not a fiduciary, they have a responsibility to, I think it's called fair dealing with you, but it's not a fiduciary type of relationship. The next page is best practices. It's entitled Best Practices. It's the Government Finance Officers Association. This is a national organization. They set a lot of policies. One of their best practices is they talk about the fiduciary responsibility, the fiduciary rules. The middle of that boldface says the relationship between the issuer and the financial advisor is one of trust and confidence, which is the nature of a fiduciary relationship. This is in contrast to the relationship between the issuer and underwriter, where the relationship is of some common purposes, but also some competing objectives, especially at the time of bond pricing. Because an underwriter has two clients, to some degree, you and the purchasers of the bonds. They can't, so they do not have a fiduciary responsibility to either one of those. So at the bottom, we again talk, we have no conflict of interest. We work solely for you. We're employee-owned and have been doing this for a long time. Page 6. Refunding opportunities. I think Stiefel's material talked about the refunding opportunities. They're there. There's a lot of money there. Our numbers are a little different than their numbers, but because interest rates change. Our numbers are 2 or 3 days old. They're not accurate anymore because interest rates have really changed a lot, because the last couple of days people have gotten very happy about the China situation. So interest rates have gone up 0.5% in 2 days or so, because everybody thinks the whole China trade thing is settled. So wait till next week, it will change. And interest rates will come back down again. But still, long-term interest rates are really in very good shape. This is one of the lower periods. Even with rates going up a little bit, we're still in a situation where 10-year Treasury rates are 1% less than they were a year ago. If you want to invest in 30-year Treasury rates, you're earning 2.5% or something. It's just ridiculous. There's no, it's an incredible market. But But so all these are refundable. Now, you can only refund them with bonds that are delivered 90 days in advance of the refunding date. So you look at your dates of January 1st, May 1st, and May 1st. Well, you certainly can't get anything done by January 1st. That would make sense to do it then and do it again in February. So I think the timing here is you could do everything. This whole sale can occur in January, maybe February, maybe late January. And because you sell in January, you deliver the bonds in February, and then you're within the 90 days of May 1st, and you're fine. So you're talking about one bond sale, not multiple sales. The next page is just a sample. It doesn't apply to you, but it's a sample of the kind of material we would show, because this shows what for a typical bond sale, what you look at. Our client in this case happens to be the one on the far left, the Village of Villa Park. You can see their bond ratings. You can see all the details on their sale. We look at that, and we look at then what other sales are occurring at the same time or have just occurred. So that was Villa Park, Kendall County, which also happened to be a client of ours, sold. Antioch, Illinois, a city which is not our client. And finally, Bureau County, which I think that's where LaSalle is, and that's not our client either. But we compare them all, and you compare all the details. Was this a good sale? Is the underwriter giving you the right price? Why is there a difference? And you have to make these kinds of distinctions to make sure you're in the market, the right pricing is occurring. And as I said, prices keep changing and changing. So that's part of how we approach this. Next page on page 8, rating agency discussion. Again, as I said, as an A-, you want to negotiate the sale, and that's fine. And we looked at your last rating report, some good credit strengths. A lot of the credit for the college has to do with reserves, and the credit report talked about 2016, the state did you no favors and messed up your credit. It messed up your reserves, so that's a problem. You're slowly growing them back. That's really good. They don't think you have much of a debt burden, low to moderate, that's fine. You're almost at your debt maximum, but they're very comfortable with your debt level. Challenges, getting that reserve back, factors that could lead towards the bottom, they tell you what can lead to an upgrade. Well, you have to show sustained, balanced operations. Now, usually rating agencies want a 3-year trend. One really good year is not going to do it. They want to see 3 years. So, and that's a good report. Now, we've had, this whole thing about whether or not you're going to get stuck with pension costs. That floats around every once in a while. That is often cited as a potential problem. We have at least one college client who has started putting money aside. They think it's just a matter of time. So they're sticking some money in a shoebox someplace because they believe that they will end up with a pension obligation. If you've got that kind of money, that's fine. Shoeboxes are good places. So, and then I think just the final page to summarize, we're an independent firm. We're very well experienced on this. We've been doing this for a long time. We work with a lot of colleges, a lot of municipalities throughout the state. No chance of a conflict of interest. Again, 200 issues a year, market awareness. And we have a team approach. You'll never see the whole team in one place because it's a busy life. So I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. I was kind of expecting to see maybe how an illustration of your fee structure. Are we too early for that?
Well, I sent you a list of the fees, and the problem is Our fee structure, and it's not a secret, our fee structure is based on I don't remember what it was, like $5,000 for the first million, and then a 0.25% for the next so millions, and then an 0.1% later on. What size issue are you talking about? Because you've got 3 possible issues. They may all go together. They may not go together. I'd be pleased to answer a question on that, but I mean, it's the sizing is all. I don't know what the sizing is. I mean, I can calculate it right now if you want. For instance, a typical, like, what is the likelihood of the if the bond issue were going to be, let's say, what, 20 million or something?
Let's say 28.
28. Okay, let's say 28. Okay. So using the fee structure that I quoted you, I just have to find it in what I sent you. Which is not going to pop out right now, but
I went through a calculation here on, with your information that you sent to me, and it's like you said, it's $5,000 a flat amount for the first million of bond, and then 0.25% for the next 4 million.
Yes.
And then 1/8% for the excess over 5 million.
Right. So the first.
So let's say let's say on a $30 million bond issue, the fee would be $46,250. If we went to 25,000, it would be 40,000.
Yes, that sounds right.
So
I figured 60.
I mean, that should be around those numbers anyway.
Yeah, that sounds right. And I think, as I said, that's equivalent to about a savings of 0.02%, 2 basis points.
Right. I think you told me that the break even would be like 2 basis points, a savings of 2 basis points, right? Or 2/10 of a basis point.
No, it's 2 basis points, 100th of
1 basis points.
Yeah.
2 basis points, yeah. So that would be a payback of savings of 2 basis points on the interest rate. The payback would be 1 year, if my calculation was about right.
That could be.
I mean, 2 basis points on 10 million is $20,000, and if we're talking 20 million, savings would be 40,000.
So you're confident you would be worth the money?
Yes. I mean, there's one of the difficulties is I have clients who think that all we do is write an official statement, that they don't think about the other stuff. I think about the savings as the main thing, but there's also helping with the official statement, reading the documents, making sure the bond documents are correct, which the bond lawyer drafts up, but also explaining things. A lot of it's an information business, and that's intangible. So just as we have 200 clients a year who do bond issues, I think they get something out of the services. Yes.
Would Steeples, do you predict that their fee would go down because you'd be doing something that they would have normally done?
No. See,
I know
no,
that you give
yes,
an independent.
yes and no. Yes and no.
Because, like you said, you review the statements and all that.
They're not doing anything that. No, your official statement is drafted by, if you read their material, a disclosure counsel. So I think there's a lawyer drafting it. We would read it and help and all that. But we're not doing something they don't do. But we're doing a different type of thing. Now, will their fee go down? Well, they've quoted you a fee. Is that fee reasonable? It was in the ballpark to me, but I don't know if it's exactly reasonable. You have to go, I mean, that's one of our jobs is you say to them, okay, you want X fee, that's fine. Show us some comparable reasons why. And maybe they'll say, well, because we charge the college that for the last 10 sales. That's perhaps reasonable. But if I say, well, wait a minute, you guys just did the Belleville schools last week or something, or 2 weeks ago, and you charge them X, why the difference? And there's a lot, and there's no one fee, because we work with them in, I think they've done a couple issues with us in Rockford. We're long-term advisors to the city of Rockford. We hired them on an issue or two. I don't think their fee was $7. I think it was a little bit less. But you can distinguish a city from a college district, and the rating is a little different and such. But that's all. I mean, I have underwriters who walk up to me and say, I want 1.25%, which is $12.50 a bond. And sometimes you just gag, and sometimes you say yes. That's for that kind of a bond issue. If it's a horrible security bond issue, and just because it was mentioned earlier, I would say a TIF bond issue, that's probably a cheap fee.
So you wouldn't necessarily be doing something that somebody else is doing now. You would play the role of making those people do their job more effectively and hopefully save the college money.
Yes, I mean, right now there's nobody saying to the underwriter, whatever underwriter you use, we want you to try a little harder. We're going to look over your shoulder. That would be, in a sense, that's our role.
I know what got me started thinking about this was a statement in the Stiefel Nicholas disclosure that says this: Stiefel has financial and other interests that differ from those of the issuer. The issuer should consult with its own financial and/or municipal, legal, accounting, tax, or other advisors as applicable to the extent it seems appropriate. So that's what made me think about it, and you know, I think you were referred by, I think it was by Robin Schwartz indirectly. Yeah. By the way, I do not want to imply to anybody that I distrust Stiefel or anything. That is not where I'm coming from.
Any other questions? Comments? Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for the time, and good night.
Next, we have our action items. V, approval of grant and sponsored contract opportunities, pages 160 through 162. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the grant and sponsored contract opportunities. Is there any discussion?
Those are both in youth build, they're adult ed programs, pretty standard.
Okay, call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
McCain? Yes. Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Hyen?
Yes. W, under action items, approval of a new classification system, compensation structure, and revisions to corresponding personnel policies, pages 163 through 169. Is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve that.
Is there a second? Second. Motion has been made and seconded to approve W. Any comments? Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
McCain? Yes. Hyen?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Watson?
Motion approved. Action item X, approval of a project labor agreement with the Southwestern Illinois Building and Construction Trades Council for the period of September 1, 2018 through August 31, 2022, pages 170-184. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the project labor agreement with Southwestern Illinois Building and Construction Trade Consuls for the period of September 1, 2018 through August 31, 2022, pages 170-184. Any comments?
I think we wanted to have a little discussion with, I think maybe board counsel wanted to say something here.
I think we've heard from the council, and we had proposed increasing the threshold amount that would be exempt from the project labor agreement. The last issuance of this agreement was $125,000 was the threshold. We had suggested maybe increasing that to account for, since the last time you've had a project labor agreement, the Illinois Community College Trustees Association has been emphasizing doing more business with minority and female and disabled-owned businesses, and to increase, we thought to increase the threshold would provide the college more opportunities for those type of agreements locally, providing more business opportunities for those entities. We had proposed increasing the threshold from $125,000 to $200,000. There was no magic number in that other than kind of looking at the new minimum wage increase going into effect and what that might cost employers down the road. The business agent had responded and was not in favor in increasing the amount. They wanted to stay at $125,000, but seemed to be amenable to maybe some compromise. So the question for the board would be, do you want to approve the project labor agreement with the $200,000 threshold? Do you want to approve it at the $125,000 threshold that it currently sits? Or do you want to authorize, approve it at some different amount? So I would invite some discussion.
Or another option would be to authorize the board president, college president, and maybe legal to negotiate a number.
Any other comments?
Well, I think if we have that flexibility to do that, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, I read the letter from the Trades Council, and to me it sounded like they might consider some sort of inflationary increase to the threshold. I mean, we really want to do this to not only to satisfy the state of Illinois in that, but to open up opportunities for more inclusiveness and diversity when it comes to our contractors. So I think the Trades Council understands that, and they would consider a compromise.
Would we need an amendment to that to allow the president and our legal counsel to negotiate with the Southern Illinois Building and Construction Trades Council? Is there a motion? So we have to approve the first motion, right?
Right.
And
You
then
still
amend
have
it?
Right. You still have to vote the first motion, and then we could have a second motion.
Okay.
Is there we've seconded the motion, so I guess a roll call vote. We could vote it down and do a different motion at that point.
Oh, okay.
Should I withdraw the motion?
Well, no, we need to vote on it. We probably, as he suggested, vote it down, and then we'll make a new motion.
Okay.
Roll call.
Tulgetsky,
No.
Watson,
No.
McCain, Hyen,
No.
Johnson,
No.
Rust,
No.
Hanfelder.
No.
Motion failed. We have a motion to authorize the president and our legal counsel to negotiate with the Southwestern Illinois Builder and Construction Trade Council. Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, call for the vote.
Tulgetsky,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain,
Yes.
Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder.
Yes.
Y under action items, authorize the board chairman, vice president of administration, and the director of human resources to solicit proposal from firms to perform an analysis of performance-based compensation measures with the goal of incorporating these measures into the new compensation system for the 2020-2021 academic year, page 185. Is there a motion to approve that?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded for this, for Y. Any discussion? If not, roll call.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain,
Yes.
Hyen, Johnson.
Yes.
Item Z, authorize the board chairman to solicit proposals from executive search firms for the purpose of selecting a new college president, page 186. Is there a motion to approve that?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, roll call.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain, Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Action item double A, approval of project assignment under the Gallagher Master Agreement authorizing a comprehensive compensation analysis of all executive cabinet and administrative positions that were excluded from the previous compensation analysis, page 187 through 205. Is there a motion to approve double A?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, why were they excluded the first time around?
Gabe, you want to take that or?
As I recall, Laurie, part of their reasoning was these positions they're at a higher level of complexity and variation between organizations. So it is more difficult to try to evaluate those. And I think the emphasis was, hey, let's get the big picture first, and then we'll worry about these other relatively 15 positions or so.
What is the time frame on something like this?
3-4 months. Yeah.
Any other questions or discussions? Roll call.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
McCain, Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Under action items A, B, approval of an agreement with Forensic Accounting and Consulting Services Incorporated for the purpose of conducting a review of Lewis and Clark Community College internal controls, policies, and procedures, pages 206 through 213. Is there a motion to approve A and B? A-B, that is.
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve A-B under action items. Any discussion?
Yes. I read what the attorney had prepared based on an inquiry, and it raised questions for me regarding the conflict of interest possibilities. I want to know, has any trustees received financial support from this association? Because if so, this would look like a political payback to me or to anyone else. So I wanted to know that, and even even voting on it, I would think that's something they would abstain from. And I have, after I hear that, I have 5 other questions.
I was a little unclear on that one, the very first part, I think. I mean, maybe I'll clear up. I've not received anything from forensic accounting. I mean,
is this Jeremy Plank? I think
Jeremy, yeah.
one of the young lady, one of the commenters referred to that. So Jeremy Plank has not supported any of our trustees. That's what I was concerned when I read the information. That was well done too, Dennis.
I mean, he supported us. I mean, you're talking about financially, though,
yes.
right? I don't know quite know how to answer that. I mean, he hasn't personally, I don't think. Yeah.
See, that would be a concern to me. To me, that is a conflict of interest as far as that is concerned. And it could be perceived as a political payback. So I'm concerned about that. Were bids sent out?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Were bids sent out?
No, this is only for $5,000. So
well, I was just wondering, well, how, why, and who selected this firm?
That was my doing. I know Jeremy, and he's in this line of work. I think he'd be good at it. He has experience with the college. He's someone that I trust, and it's very important in this line of work that you trust who's doing it, because they might run across some sensitive issues, and it's only $5,000. There's a reason it's so small. This is just the beginning.
But honestly, Julie, you all question anything at any level, and you know him. I don't know him. So to me, that's an issue.
I'd be glad to introduce him to you.
Well, that's not going to be enough. You know him a little closer. So that's an issue for me as far as that's concerned. And then I also look at the fact, we have historically had clean audits, and we have an outstanding and qualified administration and accounting staff, and they have continuously provided you with numerous reports to great detail. So, even though we're talking $100 an hour with a limit of $5,000, I don't understand utilizing this money when we have qualified personnel who have given us clean audits over the years. So I have a major concern with that. So
I'd like to comment on that. The audits that are done have a much different scope.
I understand that you're talking more of a forensic audit,
more detail,
which
right.
is related to fraud related, isn't it? You're looking
Not
for something.
No.
So what are you looking for?
No, the way I look at it is that it's kind of a substitute, you might say, for the fact that we don't have an internal audit department. Of course, I'm somewhat biased because I was an internal auditor for Olin Corporation for a number of years. But since we don't have an internal audit department, from time to time, we should do audits of different
I
things.
understand that, Kevin, but you specified certain areas. So you're concerned about that, or you're not looking at everything. And I would think that our accounting staff would review that. I know I do on my job. So
the fact that the accounting staff does their job has no bearing on whether or not an audit should be done.
Can you guys hear me? Seem like I'm getting back. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, you said it had no bearing on their abilities?
The fact that Mary and her staff are doing their job has no bearing on whether or not there should be an audit done on any particular area.
But there's a reason. So the reason for this, Julie?
I chose this because based on my history and my knowledge of auditing, which I have a background in, and also my discussion with a lot of other people who are on public boards, and they say this is oftentimes an area where there's problems, and I'm hoping that this comes out to be clean, and then we can have this marked up.
Oh, I'm sure
as
it
another
would be.
area.
I'm just wondering the
That's why I picked
necessity
it.
of
It's
it.
just because it's discussions with a lot of people and research in this area, this is an area where there are, could be a lot of problems, but I'm hoping there are no problems here.
Well, I have a concern with the firm itself, since you cannot really pinpoint if any financial support was given. To me, that's the problem. But, you know, you said you can't answer, you're not able to. I wanted to voice my concerns, and those are my concerns.
Any other discussions? If not, roll call.
Tolgetsky?
No.
I'm sorry, did you say? No, I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear. Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes.
Watson?
No.
McCain?
No.
Hyen? Yes. Action item AC, Resolution 20-2, tax levy pursuant to 110 ILCS 805/3-14.3, page 214. Is there a motion to approve AC and action items? Motion has been made to approve Resolution 20-2. Is there a second? No second? Resolution 20-2, tax levy pursuant to 110 ILCS 805/3-14.3, page 14. And I believe that has to do with a tax levy, which it says. Okay. The motion has been made and seconded. The amount of the, see, is there a discussion on the amount of the tax levy?
Well, I believe the motion is to have a rate of 29.05 cents a hundred. And I believe that we can shave that by a little bit. I would like to see maybe like 28.55, which would be a half a penny lower. It would have an impact on our budget of about $200,000, and I believe that we can and possibly have already saved $200,000 in our budget. So I can't go for that higher amount.
Any other discussion?
You want to amend the motion?
Oh,
I don't know if I can amend somebody else's motion.
we could
Vote it down and revote?
We can either vote for it or against it, and if that doesn't work, we can have another resolution. Is that correct? That's what we did before. Call for the roll call. Yes.
Sorry. Tolgetsky?
No.
McCain?
Yes. No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Watson?
Can I get a clarification on the motion?
Yes.
It is,
the-
it is for the tax levy at 29.45.
Yeah, the motion on the table is 29.5.
Okay. Hyen?
No.
Johnson?
No.
Rust?
No.
Hanfelder?
No.
Motion failed. Do we have a motion for a different level?
Yeah, I would move that we establish a rate at 28.55 cents per hundred.
Is there a second to that motion? Motion been made and seconded, and the tax rate again is, repeat that for us, please, Mr. Rust.
I'm sorry?
The rate again?
Oh, the rate would be 28.55 cents per hundred in total. The additional, what's usually referred to as like the additional tax levy would be 3.55 cents a hundred.
That's correct.
It's been motion been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? No discussion. Call for the vote.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Watson, McCain, Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
No.
and I'm sorry, I'm having trouble following here. I think that's everybody. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's not. Did I miss somebody? Oh, Wertz. Excuse me. Sorry.
Okay, that motion passed then. Under action items, item AD, authorize the board chair to appoint subcommittee to work with appropriate staff with Stiefel Nicholas for the purpose of initiating the process of refinancing Series 2010B, Series 2010C, taxable general obligation bonds, Build America bonds, and 2012 general obligation bonds for refunding purposes. Page 2015. Is there a motion to approve A and D?
Mr. Chairman, wasn't there a committee, an ad hoc committee already appointed for this?
Yes, I think there was. I believe the
ad hoc committee's purpose was to do a thorough investigation of the outstanding debt.
It didn't mention specifically working with, no, I don't think, yeah. But
And not for refunding purposes. It was to look into the.
Okay.
And I don't know enough about this, but what can we add? Do we want to add the firm that was here tonight, Spear Financial, to it, or possibility of using them?
I don't think you can. That was not
Wasn't on the action
posted
list.
as an action item
Okay.
48 hours in advance of the
All right,
meeting.
have to be next month then. If we
Right. And we don't have a agreement or anything to approve from Spear Financial.
We need a motion. Okay. Okay. To approve. Right. And is there a second?
I'll make the motion or so.
No, it's been made.
Oh, okay.
Brenda, you can second the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to authorize A and D. Is there any questions or discussion? If not, roll call.
Tolgetsky,
Yes.
McCain, Rust,
Yes.
Hanfelder,
Yes.
Watson, Hyen,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Last item under action items, AE, authorize the board chair to appoint subcommittee to work with appropriate staff and Stiefel Nicholas for the purpose of initiating the process to issue up to $5,045,000 in alternate revenue bonds, page 216. Is there a motion to approve that? Brenda, move to approve AE. Is there a second? Bob, second? Okay. Any discussion? No discussion? Roll call?
Tolgetsky?
Yes.
McCain? Watson? Hyen?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Hanfelder?
Yes. Motion carried. That completes the agenda. Adjourned.